So we watched a couple movies on Screambox. We actually are taking advantage of the Screambox app right as it expired.
Yep.
It actually got renewed today for another 6 months.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a coincidental thing.
Mm.
But on Screambox, they have a bunch of originals that we are starting to knock out because we need new content.
Yeah.
So here we go. So we watched a found footage film called
Subject.
So this is about a guy who gets abducted whilst on the way to prison. He's like in a prisoner transport, and people abduct him from it and take him to an even worse prison, basically.
Yeah.
And they observe everything that he does, and he has to face the past. We'll say that. Um, now, this is important. This is one of those reviews where I'm going to talk about something that I talk about in a lot of reviews, but I don't get to say on the other end. So typically, what I say is we watched this super generic movie and it was okay, and those are the kinds of films that I really hate.
Yeah.
I would rather a movie try something totally different and fail than a movie try all the same shit that they've ever done before and be mildly successful. Like, that's the biggest failure to me, is when you make a completely generic by the book film and you're like moderately successful, because that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
You take everything that works, you do it, but you do it like subpar or like just kind of generically. And so you're like, oh, it's an okay film. I hate those kinds of movies. So I always say I'd rather have a movie that tries something different and isn't ultimately successful, because that's way more interesting to me. And that's this film. This film takes the subgenre of found footage and it really tries something unique. And while on my first viewing of it, I didn't find everything to work for me, especially the ending where I kind of just felt like very WTF.
Yeah.
But I did quite like a good amount about it, mostly the concept and the execution of it, outside of maybe some things that I had an issue with. And I actually thought that the lead guy's performance was really good.
Yeah, he had a good performance for sure. I I mean, I definitely didn't like love the film, but I agree with you. I think that it takes risks, which are cool, and
Mm-hmm.
if for found footage, it does something, tries to do something pretty unique that I feel like you don't see, at least
Sure.
haven't seen a lot of. So I like that aspect, and there's some cool creature design in here that I
Yeah.
also really liked.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of the ending because I was pretty confused about it, and I think that there's some plot points that were confusing me as well. I don't think they were intended to be confusing, and maybe I wasn't paying attention
I
as
was.
well as I could have been, but I don't know. I was left a bit confused on some things. So, like overall, I think it's an interesting film, but I didn't really like it. It's weird. Like I
Yeah.
think they did something cool, and I really appreciate what they are trying to do.
Yeah.
And it is something that like I would consider rewatching to see like how I felt in the future. But like right now after watching it, I wasn't a big fan of it.
You know what movie it reminds me of, even though they are fairly different? What was that movie called? Um, the movie where the girl is trapped in the like crawl space. I think it's called crawl space.
Crawl with the alligator?
No, 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 no.
Oh, the like one where it was kind
The
of
girl's like has the
futuristic.
thing around her
Yeah, I know which
wrist,
one you're talking
and she's
about.
trying to get out through the crawl spaces, and she keeps
Yeah,
crawling, and she
and she like,
encounters all these things, but
yeah, yeah.
she's
It's
dealing
like
with like moments of her past while she's doing that,
right.
and it's kind of futuristic
Yeah.
and kind of, but that one to me has a little bit more of a like an ending that I felt like I understood, even though it was um left it was a tad ambiguous in certain areas, and so was this. And I don't want to say that I'm completely lost on the ending or anything. That's not the case. I feel like I'm pretty sure I got most of it, if not all of it. I'm just unsure, and that's not really my gripe. I don't know. I guess I was expecting something a little more climatic in the end, and I didn't feel like I got that exactly, but I also don't feel like I got that bad of an ending either. I do think this is a successful film, but as much like yourself, there was something missing that just kept me from really enjoying it, even though I really enjoyed the swing.
Yeah.
It felt so different
Yeah.
than almost every, found footage film we watch. It almost had like the Russian sleep experiment feel to it or something, right? Which I just really enjoyed, because where the film ends up, you're not seeing a traditional found footage film. It doesn't really break the rules, but the way it's done, there aren't really any rules.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the hell out of the concept and how they were applying it, and that stuff and the performance I thought were all really cool. I just felt that the story kind of got a little muddled along the way, and it did become a little redundant.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's mostly just like him in the cell, getting mad, running to a corner, flashback, talking to this guy, repeat.
Yeah, there was
and it did that like 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if you guys could have just, I think that's mostly my issue. Outside of the ending is fine. I'm not huge on it, but I also don't hate it. So I think for me, if we could have just had more to his experience in the cell, and there could have been more original ideas going, because what was original got stale because it was recycled within the movie so many times.
Right.
Where I was like, okay, come on, more things need to happen while he's in there to change it up, to add some variety to the film. I think that right there, that's it. I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree.
What my issue was. That's my issue.
I agree. Yeah. I think it just gets kind of boring after a while because we're doing the same thing over and over again.
Correct.
But it's like not a boring movie. It's just the pacing, because of the like repetitive, like rinse, lather, repeat of everything, gets kind of overdone.
Like she said, there is a creature in this movie, and the way that it's used, while effective, is like duplicated so many times. Like every time we see it, it does the same thing in the same place like 6 different times.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool, but you can't just keep redoing it. It's got to be something different with it.
I wanted to see more things happening with it.
So that's it. Other than that, I think if you're a big found footage enthusiast and you want to see something different and you don't mind repetition, and you're looking for something unique for the subgenre, this is a watch. And it's on Screambox only, to my knowledge. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Screambox is really cheap, and we did find out today that it finally does have an app on a Apple TV.
Yeah.
And the app on there actually works really well. The one on a Roku is horrible. Absolutely abysmal. When we were watching this, Kaylee tried to pause it to do something, and it restarted the film. And then the fast forward button, it's all over the place. You'll fast forward for like 10 minutes, and then you press play and it jumps back 8 minutes. Then you fast forward 20 minutes and it jumps back like 17 minutes. And then it just kind of goes wherever it wants to go.
Yeah.
It's a completely broken app, and I really wanted to get rid of Screambox last night forever. I was like, I don't care if I paid for it. I don't want to ever use this app again. But the one on the Apple TV that we downloaded tonight works perfectly. albeit quiet. I don't know if that's going to be an issue with every film. I don't know if that was the one we just watched, but the one we watched, if you can get it on Apple TV or maybe your computer, it'll work. But Roku, avoid like the plague. Fix it, Screambox, because they've got some cool content, and I'd like to continue to keep supporting them. But if their app doesn't work, how can I? So, anyways, that's that. If you watch it, let us know. Bye.
Bye.